A young space alien and a teenage earthling fall in love and plot to stop the aliens' race from using Earth as a food breeding ground for giant lobsters in Teenagers from Outer Space, a 1959 American independent black and white science fiction cult film released by Warner Brothers. The film was produced, written, and directed by Tom Graff and stars David Love, Dawn Bender, Brian Grant, Harvey B. Dunn, Tom Graff, and King Moody. In the film, a young alien named Derek, played by David Love, abandons his crew to search for new life on Earth, while one of his crewmates is sent to find him as they attempt to eradicate human life in order to farm Earth with giant lobster-like livestock they call gargons, a delicacy on their home world.
Soon this planet will be covered with full-grown gargons.
Derek soon falls for a pretty teenage girl, Betty Morgan, played by Dawn Anderson, and they team to try to stop the plans of his invading cohorts. Teenagers from Outer Space was filmed on location in and around Hollywood, California, with a number of telltale landmarks like Bronson Canyon and Griffith Park, and Hollywood High School giving away the film's hazy locale. One notable aspect of the film is that it was largely the work of a single person, Tom Graff, who in addition to playing the role of reporter Joe Rogers, wrote, directed, edited, and produced the film, of which he also provided cinematography, special effects, and music coordination. Producers Bryan and Ursula Pearson and Gene Sterling provided the film's $14,000 budget, which was less than shoestring, even by the standards of the time. According to Bryan Pearson, the crew employed many guerrilla tactics in order to cut costs. Director Tom Graff secured the location for Betty Morgan's house for free by posing as a UCLA student. While Graff had attended the school, he had graduated 5 years earlier. The older woman who owned the house even let the crew use her electricity to power equipment.
That's why you came here, wasn't it?
Graff shot in many nearby locations, mostly in the vicinity of Sunset Boulevard and Highland Avenue in Los Angeles, to double as more important city landmarks. Graff's steady hand and framing kept most of the real locations under wraps, creating a great low-budget illusion of a small town.
Much better.
Wait, Betty.
Other cost-cutting ideas didn't pay off as well. The space costumes were simple flight suits clearly decorated with masking tape, dress shoes covered in socks, and surplus Air Force helmets. The use of stock footage in lieu of special effects, and Steven Spielberg-looking shots replacing actual visuals of the invading enemy spaceships seriously undercut the urgency of the ending. Props included a single bolted joint skeleton reused for every dead body, a multi-channel mixer that the producers made no attempt to camouflage, even clearly bearing the label Multi-Channel Mixer MC2 as a piece of alien equipment, and the infamous dime store Hubley Company atomic disintegrator as the alien's focusing disintegrator ray gun. In an unusual practice of the era, Graff also pre-recorded some of the film's dialogue for several scenes, and had the actors learn to synchronize their actions with the sound. The score of the film came from stock, composed by William Luce and Fred Steiner.
We will continue our search in another solar system.
In June of 1958, Bryan Pearson, who invested $5,000 in the production with his wife Ursula, took Graff to court in order to gain back the original investment and a percentage of any profits. The Pearsons had learned that Graff had allegedly sold the film, which was not true until early 1959, but heard nothing of their investment or the percentage of profits to which they were entitled. The legal dispute dragged on for a year, and once it was settled, Pearson got his $5,000 investment back, but the judge ruled there was no profit to share. Tom and the Pearsons, who had been good friends during the production of Teenagers, never spoke to each other again. Teenagers from Outer Space opened on June 3, 1959 to negative but not crippling reviews. The Los Angeles Times review of the movie stated, quote, "What a curious little film this is. There are flashes of astonishing sensitivity half buried in the mass of triticisms." And of the director Tom Graff, When he stops spreading himself so incredibly thin, I think his work will bear watching. The film failed to perform at the box office, placing further stress on an already burdened Graff, and in the fall of 1959 he suffered a breakdown, proclaiming himself as the second coming of Christ. After a number of public appearances followed by a subsequent arrest for disrupting a church service, Graff disappeared from Hollywood until 1964. Sadly, he committed suicide in 1970. Teenagers from Outer Space went on to become a cult classic among sci-fi fans.